Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we are streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. The purpose of the show is to help you realize you are not alone. You are in control of your life. It does not matter what your lot in life is or where you came from. We have all felt pain, suffering, hurt, abandonment, loneliness, hopelessness, etc. This show helps you to take those dark moments and turn them around to create a whole new you. We were taught to be a certain way, act a certain way, and to conform to society. Being socialized is not bad, but it can put constraints on us. The guests I bring on the show are telling you their story of where they came from, the obstacles they overcame, and where they are today. They are sharing the tools they use to recreate themselves and their life. Some of the guests are still in their process, beginning a new process, comfortable in their process, or even reinventing themselves. They are giving you tools that they use to gain insight into themselves, to take control of their life, and become the person they are today. On podcast.kathleenmflanagan.com is a list of the guests that have been on the show with their contact information. I am aware that you may resonate with one or several of them. My desire is that this becomes a community where you have access to the people you wish to align with and utilize the tools that they have, as well as the tools being offered on KathleenMFlanagan.com. AwakeningSpirit.com is an aromatherapy-based body care line that offers alternative healing remedies and that uses natural and organic ingredients. We are offering a 40% discount by entering bravetv into the coupon code. The products are guaranteed. If a product is not working, please contact me and we will reformulate the blend specifically for you. Grandma'sNaturalRemedies.net is a CBD company that uses essential oils in every blend and either has broad spectrum or an isolate. Every product is tested and the lab results are on the website. We are offering a 20% discount by entering bravetv into the coupon code. I start every show with sound from the tuning forks. I bring in love, happiness, and balance. This sets the tone for the show and brings out the best in both myself and my guest. Let's begin. Today I have Joey Drolshagen with us, and he is featured in Fox, CBS, and NBC, along with being named one of the top business coaches in America for 2 consecutive years. In the New York City Journal, the Disruptors magazine, Joey is known for helping realtors and small business owners to unlock their pathway to success through creating accelerating systems of habit and total mindset alignment. Aside from a very successful 28-year career up to Vice President of Sales, Joey has spent over 3 decades studying, implementing, and developing what's now known as SMT method, subconscious mindset training, which has repeatedly allowed hundreds of people to create the life they desire through retraining their subconscious mind to become unstoppable. Welcome, Joey.
Oh, it's great to be here with you, Kathleen. This is exciting.
Good. I am so excited to have you here. So, Joey, tell everybody a little bit about your journey of how you became an awakening spirit and discovered this technology.
Absolutely. We're all conditioned based on how we were raised, who we were raised by, and things like that. Like we used to say back in Detroit where I grew up. On which side of the tracks you grew up on. And I happened to be raised in a very low income blue collar family. There were 5 of us kids. My mom and dad stayed married till death do you part. But man, I watched them my whole youth struggle financially. I watched them struggle to the point where they beat themselves up health wise. The arguments that they experienced between them, most of them were financial related and such. And I vowed at 9 years old, I was not going to live like these guys. And then I found myself in my 20s experiencing those exact same things happening in my life. I worked full time in corporate America. I worked, in the automotive because being from Detroit. And then I had businesses on the side. And even as successful as they were, I struggled. And back then, if something came easy to me, I felt like I didn't deserve it or I didn't earn it. So at 22, I started stepping into these things. I heard a gentleman speak, Jack Boland with the Unity Church, and he spoke, and it just ignited this thing inside of me that I wanted to inspire and motivate people to live better lives. But I didn't know how to do so myself. So that began that journey for me into what I do today, into my own healing, my own discovery of who I am today.
So what did that journey look like when you discovered that? What were the steps that you took to move into that discovery to change that mindset that you had?
Kathleen, that was 37 years ago, and I've been a consistent student. So there's a long line of things I did. I started out with the counseling and the group counseling, and I started out with the Wayne Dyers and the self-help and the things like that. And then later on, I went into starting to get some coaching and bringing somebody else in, and opening up that way. And it was a continuation of that to today. I still work with a coach today. They say best coaches have coaches, and I work with one, and I do so because they help me maneuver and minimize those roadblocks that I run into based on this.
Right.
And one of the biggest lessons I learned is I call this the Antichrist. Because this so often, we have the subconscious and that holds all of our conditioning, but it just plays it back over and over and over. And that's what comes up in our thinking. So all the time hearing we're not enough, and all the time hearing that, we got to work harder, or, we're not doing it right, or all that stuff that we continue to hear there. In order to silence that, in order to grow, I had to silence that. In order to silence that, I had to understand the difference between the conscious and subconscious. And there's a lot of studies done on that to explain it. But what I didn't understand is in that subconscious, there's like this motherboard of all of our programming, everything we've been told and experienced, and even things that we didn't firsthand experience, but somebody told us was their story and we took it as our truth. Mm-hmm. So our patterns, our beliefs, our habits are all within that subconscious, and the subconscious is what triggers the brain waves to the actions we take or don't take. That's why so many people out there, like I was and still am in some ways, we know what we want. We can detail see it, a vision board it, all of that stuff. But when you really look at it, the actions we're taking are going the opposite direction from what we desire we want. And I was never able to figure that out on my own to put those connection points. So that's where coaching has been huge for me. And go on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, and as I started doing that, I could start aligning. And then as I started understanding, that's not my fault that I'm working against myself. It's that programming. And as I understood, once I could identify it, then I could come up with the tools to shift that, which has ultimately led to the SMT method.
Well, what I know, first of all, I agree 100% with you, because this is a lifelong change too. Especially the core of my belief system was I'm unworthy, and I wasn't allowed to speak. And so until my 20s, I had to learn how to develop my mouth. I worked for lawyers so I could learn to communicate. And then I knew how to start using my mind to where I would be like a devil's advocate, reading a pleading and saying, okay, well, here's what this guy says and here's what this says. So tell me, because I needed to know how they critically thought. How do you take this story and create a case out of it? Because I didn't know. Yeah. Because I wasn't taught how to critically think back then. But what the other thing was that I've discovered too is we are creatures of habit. And part of it is we have to raise our vibrational energy as well. And we can't do that if we stay as a creature of habit. So changing, your paradigms, like start walking, start exercising, start doing something that shifts this. Because I didn't know that, because I'm like, well, that's just a bunch of hogwash. And I used to think that until I changed that. So, I'm dead serious. You think you got a clue, and then you find out you really don't have a clue.
I was the exact same way. It like I wanted to stay, and that's ultimately what happens without us consciously knowing it, is we want to stay in our comfort zone, but we want different results, right? So I'm going to walk through this quickly, but so the only way, late Bob Proctor, who was one of my mentors, taught me this. The only way I can ever get uncommon results or different results is I have to take uncommon or different actions. That goes back to Einstein's theory, doing the same thing, expecting different results.
Yeah.
You can't use the same thinking that got me into a situation to get me out of it. And later on, I understood, like Michael Singer talks about, the purpose of the mind is to help us solve complex problems. But so many of us, and I for years, decades, have used that to run my life, to tell me I wasn't good enough, or to tell me this or tell me that. And now you take a kid who's 32 years old, or a guy who's 32 years old, and you put him in his first coaching program that was tens of thousands of dollars, and he comes out of it with no results. And guess what that guy tells himself? Is there must be something wrong with me. But there isn't. And I talk to a lot of people who have been through coaching programs who walked away with that or similar things, and it's not. It's the program that the problem is, not the person applying it. We talk about that. We talk about the uncommon actions. We talk about that. We all have desires for unrealistic lives. We want to have the kids, and we want, the best kids, and we want to have this, and we want to have the money, and we want to have the house, and we want to have all the dream vacation. We want all that stuff. But we go up here to live realistically, because up here we cannot live unrealistically. So we have unrealistic expectations, and we're trying to use a logical mind to get us there that's based on realistic results. So when I help somebody go from $300,000 to $3 million in business in 12 calendar months, or 7.5 million to 23, or any of those numbers like that, people will hear that and go, well, that's unrealistic. Now, it's what they desire, but their conscious mind will automatically shut down and say that can't be truth. So we want an unrealistic life, but we're going about it from a realistic design of using the logical mind with our strategies and our structure and our to-dos. And all we're really doing is creating more effort that's going to give us less results at the end.
Totally agree. Part of this, I was telling you a little bit about that. I'm going to be going to this seminar this weekend, and part of it is, it's David Bear's, and it's a mindset coaching. Get your mindset before you start moving into the direction you want your new life to go. And I'm sitting here going, I need strategies. I need this. There's certain things that I know I can't do. I know that it's not up here. It's just not in my consciousness. I have an overall view of what it is, but I need help to get there. So I'm going to go here to learn what I need to learn. And I'm probably coming home with a coach in my back pocket, because this girl needs a little more help than I can do it on my own. I'm not a lone ranger anymore. But we're going to come back in just a few minutes. We're going to take a quick commercial break, because I want to keep going, because this is like really cool. And I wanted to talk about your technology. Welcome back, everyone. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host with the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. And I have Joey Drolshagen in the room with us. And we are talking about coaching and his method that he's created. And during the break, he and I were talking a little bit about what that's going to look like, because as we get older, we know our paradigms. We love our paradigms. As much as we hate our paradigms, we love them. And we will defend them no matter what, because that fear that we have of that unknown is so strong and so uncomfortable that we're willing to do whatever it takes to make the other guy look bad, even though we're paying him or her to say, get me over the cliff, help me jump. So that's the one thing that when because I'm really good, I'm a master at my paradigms. I really am a master. And I know that a lot of times people don't see through my paradigms, even though I see it, and they say, yes, I see, yes, I see, yes, I see. And then they don't, because when I put them up there, I test them, and I'm a really good tester. And that's, I think, part what we have to do is discern the people that we want to work with as well. So even though I'm talking about, I need a coach, and I do, I've got two people that are out there that I'm looking at, but that doesn't mean I'm in alignment, because part of it needs to be in alignment. And who knows, Joey, maybe you're the guy that's going to be the one that I hire because your philosophy sticks more with me in my heart, and creating that, because I can do the work. I just need whatever that is. Like, what is that little thing that's missing inside of me that I can't pinpoint? And that's what this is about with you, is so you can show me what that is, because I think that's what's fascinating about your SMT, is that you design it for the individual. So if you can elaborate just a little bit more, what did that look like when you created that to make that so unique for everyone?
Absolutely. And like I said to you already, it's funny, we were talking about with paradigms, the way I describe life today is, man, it's more fulfilling, it's more rewarding, it's more impactful, it's more like exciting than it's ever been. But there's more fear I live with on a regular basis. It's like I had to get used to fear, because there's that unknown, like what about the tomorrows and things like that. And there's things we do to minimize those and stuff. But it's a thrill. It's kind of a little bit like a roller coaster ride. It's got all the excitement and thrill and the heights and everything else to it. But it's got that fear of not knowing it's going up, but how far up before it goes down, and how straight down does it go, and things like that. But it's really the only way I've found to truly live, and truly achieve my desires and stuff. And yeah, you would ask about what it looks like with the program. So I talked about, we start with a dynamic vision. And when I say a dynamic vision, I don't mean, I want to, get 15% growth on my business over the next 3 years and things like that. It's like, I want to freaking quadruple that son of a gun. I want to blow my business out of the water, whether the economy is good or bad. I want to see my, blow that business. I want to open up 3 more businesses. I want to do this. I want, it's those unrealistic things we get into. And then what we do is we start looking at, based on the uniqueness of the individual, what things excite you to do. You talked about the 10,000 pound phone, and I work with a lot of salespeople on that, and I help them, get over that and stuff. But if somebody, like realtors, if they can't see them picking up the phone, there's so many other things you can be doing. So we start identifying those things that light up the action of doing, and then which automatically turn on the attraction factor, and we start doing those. And as we start seeing things start showing up, all of a sudden we start bumping into things, which is the conditioning. And so I help them identify what's going on at those times, and it could be a complete different conditioning than what we're experiencing in our feeling tone. But when we can identify what that conditioning is, then we have tools that we can shift that and start putting more empowering thoughts and really realigning. Everything goes back to aligning the mindset, conscious and subconscious. And so as we do that, all of a sudden people will start experiencing accelerated results, and things like we talked about that. Out of the blues, or coincidences continue to show up and such. I can't control what happens with my clients as far as those coincidences, but I can help them get into alignment where all of a sudden they start experiencing them. Now I have somebody who's got, like I said, $7.5 million in sales has been their high over 13 years in business. And the 12 months we worked together, they almost toppled over $23 million and sustain that for the next 5 years. Companies that have been at $300,000 within 12 calendar months go to 3 million. And then the guy comes back to me and he says, man, I'm frustrated. I couldn't even get him to go to 3 million. He was like, all I need is to get to $750,000, and I'll be able to pay my bills and chisel down the line of credit. So he gets a 3 million. A year later, he comes back to me. He goes, man, I'm frustrated. And I go, why? And he goes, because I want to get to 5 million and I can't seem to do it. Now, here was a guy at 300,000 that got to 3 million, and that's part of the humanness. As we achieve one of our visions, then it continues to go. As long as we live, we have visions, and so it's really about getting the vision, and then setting up systems that work for the individual, for that uniqueness of that individual, and then start moving forward. And those things can change as we evolve. They'll change as well. So we got to be willing to change with them. We can't live in this world like we're conditioned to, where you find a system, you lock it down, and you just stamp it, and that's what you do the rest of your life. We don't live in that world anymore. People don't get one job and live there until they retire anymore. And I did not want to live my life how I was conditioned, that a man gets a job and supports a family and hopefully lives long enough to enjoy some retirement. I want to live today for my joys. I want to have freedom today to go play pickleball, to go work out, to go hang gliding, whatever it may be. I want to have the freedom to be able to do that and not have to wait for some certain age when Social Security or something like that kicks in.
Well, and but that's the nature of our spirit. I mean, that's who we are. That's the innate of us, is constant evolution. And I'm reading this book, and Spirit actually said part of who we are is we create. We're constantly creating. But somehow we got into this little tiny itty bitty body, and we got programmed for fear, poverty, pain, suffering, all of that. We got programmed into that, part of it by our governments, with the wars, with the assassinations of some of our better leaders, things like that. And what was that? That's all a control factor. Well, that's not who we are. We never were that. And I know that. And again, as you keep saying, like, here's this guy who couldn't get past 300,000. Then he got to 3 million. Now he's like, I can't get past the 5 million. Again, it's a mindset. It's still a mindset. And we have to take that energy on. We have to bring more of us to the picture to bring that energy up, because money's an energy. Everything is energy. If we can bring our frequency up, we can hold more. And like you said, it's that constant living on the edge. And if you ever listen, like I think I did Garth Brooks or somebody, I watched his documentary, and he said that when his life started taking off, when he was in front of millions of people, he said it was the pressure. It was constant pressure. And he said, I had to learn to make that my friend. And that's going to be with fear or whatever it is you're doing. You have to make that, you have to make change your friend. Because if you want the big dream, you have to be big.
Well,
Smallness
part of
doesn't
the other
work.
thing you said that earlier about evolution. We evolve. We continue to evolve. Part of the big problem we experience, especially here in the United States, is somehow it got confused that evolving requires laboring or work.
Yeah,
And that's one of
I
the
agree.
big misconceptions. If you want something, you got to take massive actions and exhaustive efforts, and you got to be willing to trade off your life for it. And how long have we heard that for? And that is all, I'll clean it up, BS. It's 100% BS. It's 100% against. We are human beings, but we live like we're human doings, and we labor
Yeah.
ourselves exhaustion to where we have sicknesses, to where we have health issues, to where we're burned out, to where we can no longer even stand what we're doing. I can't tell you how many medical people, realtors, business owners I talk to that are just like, you know what, I wish I could just give this whole thing away, or I wish I could just be done once and for all. And they've lost their passion, but it's only because they've confused that in order to get that passion, they have to work or they have to labor. And that is 180 degrees opposite from the direction I go. And that's why I tell people, the SMT method is designed, scientifically designed, to help you identify that blocks so that you can experience greater results and at the same time do it at a pace where you can enjoy more of your life.
Well, then it doesn't feel like you're working, because that's the whole point, is you don't want to feel like you're working. That's why I'm still doing what I'm doing, because I'm doing things that I love. They may frustrate me right now because I'm not sure what to do next, but I'm still doing whatever I get a message to do or what I think I should do. It's like, well, let's try this, because I want success in a way. I mean, I want big success. Okay. I already know I'm way off the charts and where I want to be with success. And that's okay. I'm allowed to have that.
Let me ask you something really quick, because you said something really, really important there, Kathleen. You said when you get messages or things like that, how often do you find yourself doing 150 miles an hour with that go, go, go? How often do you get messages during that time?
When I'm going, I'm not getting messages.
No,
So
you're
I've
not.
learned to I slow down a lot, and I take my time. I give myself that quiet time in the morning. I have that morning routine thing going so I can listen. And then I do my gratitude in the morning. I do gratitude at night. I take the time to be with me. That's why I know that my message is getting clearer. It's not refined enough yet. I know that. But those are the things. It's like, what is it that I want? How do I want to be? And it's not what do I want people to do for me, it's how do I want to be? How do I want to show up in the world? Because if I can become that attractive force in the universe, because that's what I want to be, because if I'm an attractive force in the universe, guess what's coming towards me? I tell myself I'm a lighthouse for people to find me, to find the show. I'm a lighthouse. What do lighthouses do? They bring the sailors home that are lost at sea. That's what
And
I do.
you just showed evidence of that. Is so people will say, well, that doesn't happen for me. Well, no, it can't happen for you when you're doing 120 or 150 miles an hour with the go, go, go and constantly beating yourself up, and so it's there, it's available, it's right there for you, but we don't see it when we're in that go, go, go. We got to slow down to a pace where we can open our receptors to receiving those directions. And all of a sudden we receive this little direction, or go earlier. I went and got a coffee and I met somebody and I just said hello and we got to talking. Now I have another client that came from that. And if I were rushing through life, if I go to get coffee, it's through a drive-through. I don't, every time I go get coffee now, I walk inside and say hi and get to talk to people. And like, it's that slowing down. So if anybody's listening to this and you're at a point where you're struggling and stuff like that, the first thing to do is slow down. And then the other requirement that I look for, because I only work with 12 coaches or 12 clients at a time. And the reason I do that is because my clients have my personal number. So if something comes up, they don't have to wait until our next scheduled call. They can just reach out right then. I want them to get the most out of our time as possible. So when we're going through that, when we start slowing down, the other thing I look for is an open mind. And we all say I got an open mind, but I can't tell you, Kathleen, how many people I talk to that have the I know disease. The whole time I'm talking, they go, I know. I work with people in recovery for alcohol and stuff like that, and it'll start out going, I know. So what I tell people is a beginner mindset, open mind, isn't about what I know. Today in this life, with all the studies and everything I've done, I don't live that way. I live like I listen for what can I add to what I already know? Or maybe what have I forgotten that I need to pick back up on? That's a beginner mindset.
I love that. And we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break.
Okay.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we are streaming on the Bold Brave TV network, and this is the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. I have Joey Drolshagen in the room with us, and on commercial break, again, he and I just and we decided, because we only have 8 minutes left, we're going to talk real quickly about the I know. Because I used to say, I know all the time as well. And then somebody said, well, if you knew, then why are you doing what you're doing instead of being where you want to be? And that was a real eye-opening experience. And then it was like 2 ears, 1 mouth, shut up and listen. And the most important thing was, that was the most liberating, is I'm a blue in the churches of Joe Crane and all that. I'm a blue, which means I'm a teacher. So I know everything. So I thought. And I remember the day that I realized I didn't know everything. And I told a fellow blue person, and the look of horror on her face when I said, I don't know, was traumatizing, because as a blue, you know everything. And you don't know everything. And that was the most liberating time in my life, when I said, I don't know. And I walk around today and say, I don't know. Teach me. I don't know. Because as long as I knew everything, nobody could help me. As soon as I opened myself to say, I need help, I need to receive and learn how to receive, that's when things change. That's when coincidence changes, because I'm allowing instead of stopping a process. So Joey, I know you wanted to talk about it, because you were saying you were a big I know person too.
Absolutely, I was. I told you. I mean, just really quick, I didn't even realize I did it, but I'd say I know when I was talking to somebody. It'd always be I know. And I had somebody tell me one time. They go, Joseph, you know of, and you know about, but you don't know it until you know it, and that helped me break that. Then I started looking at that as it's not our fault that we're like that, because we're conditioned to be in the world when we're in school and things like that, or like even as a kid, like Joey, why did you take that extra cookie? I don't know. Joey, you're in school. Why didn't you do your homework? I don't know. Why are you looking out the window? I don't know. and we would get in trouble for that. We had to have the answer, we have to know the answer. We got to be able to figure it out on our own, if you, and all of that stuff. So it's not our fault that we're like that. We're conditioned to be that way in our culture. So, but the greatest things happen when I can look outside of what I know. All of a sudden I can start gaining new knowledge, and I can start gaining new experiences, and it starts opening the doorway to new things happening in my life. As long as I'm knowing I'm trapped in what I already know.
It's childlike wonder.
Yes,
Bring
exactly.
back childlike wonder back.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Play.
And we're all meant to soar. We all have different ways of doing it and things like that and everything, but we're all meant to soar in this life. We're not meant to struggle. It's the conditioning causing it. And like I said, for a lot of people, I'll say right now, it's not your fault if you're struggling with something. It's not your fault you're conditioning. And even the people who gave us our conditioning were doing the best they could do for it, so we can let them off the hook as well. But it's that conditioning that traps us to struggle, that traps us to lack, that traps us to living on mediocre scraps of what our life could be. And one of my all-time favorite quotes is, and I never say it the right way, but by Marianne Williamson. And she said, "We're not afraid of being powerless. What our real fear is of how powerful we really are. But I can't get to that power while I'm living from here and doing 150 miles an hour."
I say that a lot. It's not our smallness that we're afraid of. We're afraid of our greatness.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. It's very much the same thing. Greatness, power, stepping into the true essence of who we are, accepting us, loving ourselves for who we are, and not being whatever all the lies that were perpetuated on us as children and through school and work and whatever else. Welcome back, everyone. I'm not sure what just happened there, but somehow I just got checked out. So Spirit sometimes likes to play games. Joey, what is one piece of advice you would offer our audience to help them move in a different direction to achieve their dreams or become a better person?
Open up your mind. Practice living with an open mind, with a beginner mindset.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
How can people get a hold of you?
The easiest way is anybody can reach out. I have my personal calendar up on the drive at coachwithjoey.com. Anybody can schedule 15 minutes of my time, and we'll just jump on the phone and just talk about the things we're talking about here. If somebody has something going on or questions, we'll talk, allow that 15 minutes to talk about it.
Perfect. I love you. I love it. So I want to say I know, right? Where is this coming from? But I do. I love you.
I love you too, Kathleen.
Enough to people. You were fun. You're just fun. I mean, that picture of you that I have of you with your arms up in the air, that is so you. I love it. You're so dynamic. So I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I think I would definitely love to have you come back sometime because, well, it's going to be a while, but have you come back because I think this is very powerful. Mm-hmm. And you're just full of life, and lots of great information came out to help people. And so again, thank you so much for coming on the show for me today.
Thank you. This is awesome.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate getting to talk to you.
Oh, I will. I'm definitely probably going to get on your calendar before I leave, so I have the appointment when I get back. So if I'm half asleep, you'll know why. But I want to thank everyone for being on the show with us today. I really do appreciate it. If you like the show, please like or subscribe to the channel. And if you found any value, please let your friends know about the show. And again, you can check us out at Kathleen M. Flanagan for the list of services and products that I have. I do have the de-stress meditation there that's absolutely free. Enter the bravetv and Awakening Spirit and Grandma's Natural Remedies. Next week, we have Zach Lyotis coming on the show. And because we couldn't get her on last week or the last month, we're going to carry on that conversation about spirituality using scripture to move into that. And next week, I will see you next week at Tuesday at 4 p.m. And from my heart to yours, I hope you have a fabulous week.